In the later half of the 20th century, the way movies were produced changed. The goal had always been to make money. They were designed to be as profitable as possible, but starting in the 1970s, major motion pictures became mass merchandised. Products would be released to coincide with the movies, to capitalize on the hype or help build it. Toys, clothing, CDs, albums, these helped movies that were already going to make a ton of money make even more. That is what we are going to be talking about today on the videocast, the greatest movie merchandise ever made. Now, this is being produced just as the summer movie season is really kicking off, and the movies we're going to be looking at were summer blockbusters. We will be focusing on different types of merchandise, specific examples, hype, the numbers they brought in, and how these products help sell some of the biggest movies ever made. As always, I am your host Brian. Patreon.com/pixelportraits is how you can support us here. Tons of exclusive content over there, videos, as well as digital copies of my book, The Nostalgia Economy. We have physical copies, t-shirts, merchandise. Links are in description. Help us out if you can. Get some great stuff in return. Like this video, share it. That helps out a lot. You know how this works. Now, this is going to be bookended by the same franchise, the Star Wars trilogy, or trilogies, the original films, and the prequels. This will give us a good idea of how much things changed over the years, or didn't. Starting with the movie, or movies, that really solidified summer blockbusters being a thing, the original Star Wars trilogy. We covered the history of the summer blockbuster last year, and while Jaws gets credited with starting this phenomenon, it was the original Star Wars that really set what would be the template going forward. An epic story, high budget, tons of special effects, and most importantly, merchandise. The film was incredibly successful. There were lineups for weeks. This is a news report from a few months after release. Bona fide hit, printing money, and pretty much anything that could be merchandised was. Books, bubble bath, posters, shirts, comics, records. Obviously, merchandise has been made for movies before, but never this intentionally. This was a coordinated effort. George Lucas had the merchandising rights, a lot of marketing and merchandise came after the movie was already a hit, but he had signed a contract with toy maker Kenner, probably best remembered before this for the Easy Bake Oven. Highly collectible toys were the result, maybe more so today. The demand was so high for these. The process of making them and getting them to market took a long time. They scrambled and didn't have the toys out before Christmas, which is the busiest time of year for toys. So they were actually selling vouchers to be wrapped under the tree. Kids were getting empty boxes for Christmas and they were excited. These came with a display stand. Quick eBay search shows the stand goes for a few $100 today, depending on the condition. The toys would be mailed in the new year, which is a choice, but they wanted to capitalize on the hype, make that holiday money, and it worked. Star Wars was still in theaters by then. To show how popular this movie was, here is another news report about the last theater still showing it, 15 months after release. Over $300 million made at the box office during that initial run, $100 million made off the Kenner toys alone in 1978, another $100 million in 1979. It was huge. Merchandise was still being made, new merchandise, new toys, all leading up to the release of the sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, in 1980, where the cycle began all over again. All the reports you watch tell you how well the toys were selling, how it was going to be a new toy store staple, Star Wars, saying they will still be sold in 25 years, which of course did come true. Retail managers sing George Lucas's praises, connecting movies and merchandise. There had never been anything like this before. Every time a new movie came out, and another movie did come out, 1983's Return of the Jedi, you could have toys, shirts, albums, books, anything to help promote the movie, but also the movie served as a glorified commercial for the products. This harmonious relationship made a lot of people a lot of money. The Kenner toy line ran until 1985. 96 figures were produced, including some duplicates that again are worth a lot of money still today. Depending on rarity or demand, they can run anywhere from $10 to hundreds of dollars. In 2024, a prototype of Boba Fett was sold at auction for $1.3 million, which is a record for toys. These toys inspired everything else we are going to be looking at today. Star Wars was an original idea that grew into a pop culture phenomenon, but the next example was an already established character. Batman 89, directed by Tim Burton, came out in 1989. Batman had been adapted to the screen before. The 1943 serials, Batman the movie, based on the 1960s TV series. That was the last time before Batman 89 the character was really in the mainstream. 1989 was the 50th anniversary of the character, Batman. Multiple generations were familiar with them in different ways, whether they read the original comics or watched the 1960s TV show, or the recent comics, the then recent comics, The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller, The Killing Joke. The 1980s were very kind to Batman, and he was a very popular character. People were excited for this. Superhero movies are a played-out genre here in 2025, but in 1989 you didn't have much. The Richard Donner Superman, Howard the Duck, sure I'm missing others, but there were not many. It's funny watching the fans interviewed by the reporters being so jaded about the movie, excited but skeptical in the way that kind of dominates most discourse around movies these days. But we are here for the merchandise, which was also heavily promoted and publicized. Just like with Star Wars, anything that could have the bat signal or the logo slapped on it did. This period was known as Batmania for a reason. There was Batman breakfast cereal, any kind of clothing you could imagine, these sweet shoes from Converse, Batman and Joker themed, toys from Toy Biz, clocks, buttons. Another movie that was an absolute hit, so much so it occupied a large part of Warner's holiday catalog that year, months after it came out. This shows all the different types of merchandise that were available, coins, mugs, Joker in the box, Jack in the Box, clock radio, watches, more clothing. This jean jacket is sick. They really did milk this for all it was worth. I found two reports that offer a glimpse into aspects of merchandising we haven't really talked about yet. One looks at counterfeit Batman merchandise, bootleg shirts, unlicensed. The tone here addresses some common opinions. Who cares? It looks the same, it's cheaper, they're already making enough money. But there have been 50 years at least of comic collecting. People knew this stuff was going to be collectible in the future, and that is explained. That's the value, which is cool to see. The other report also deals with collectability and movie merchandising as a whole. It's hosted by Leonard Maltin, which is always a market quality. We see some history, both recent and old, examples of how movies were merchandised pre-Star Wars. It also brings up the point, which we've not seen, and that is all of this merchandise has to be produced, commercials, marketing prepared before the movie comes out. What if it flops? Roger Rabbit is mentioned, one of my favorite movies. It wasn't a flop, but the merchandise did not resonate with the target audience. Kids didn't buy the dolls. The success of Batman also convinced Hollywood to adapt another 1930s comic, Dick Tracy. This is mentioned in the report as coming out next year, with a suggestion to start collecting memorabilia from it now, ahead of the movie's release. That movie had all the tie-ins, toys, McDonald's, but it flopped. Batman did not flop, and neither did its merchandise. Merch brought in $750 million, I believe triple the box office, which is insane. Warner would find more success with the sequel, Batman Returns, in 1992. One of the first movies I remember seeing in theaters. Takes place at Christmas, came out in the summer, just like Die Hard. Last year, we talked about the controversy caused by McDonald's having Batman Returns Happy Meal toys, targeting kids when the movie was so violent and frightening, especially for younger children. I was in kindergarten, so I was one of those kids they were talking about. I enjoyed the movie. I had merch from it, no doubt purchased from Zellers, which you are seeing a flyer from here. Zellers, Canadian retailer, now defunct. They had a weird history with Batman. In the late 80s, they had these gorgeous commercials featuring original animation with Batman, Robin, Joker, and the Riddler. Great animation, all to promote their toy department. But yeah, Batman Returns, another very profitable movie, but not as big as its predecessor. Something that was as big or bigger was the next movie we're going to be looking at, 1993's Jurassic Park. This movie was basically manufactured to be the biggest movie of all time. Its marketing budget cost the same as other blockbusters' total budget. Everything we've seen before, toys, also from Kenner, video games, posters, but what's really interesting about Jurassic Park and the hype is that it not only made licensed merchandise from the movie huge, but anything to do with dinosaurs. It got a generation of kids interested in dinos. Barney was also around the same time. Shelves were full of generic toys and books, other merchandise, attractions, amusement parks, or activities with an educational bent to it, and made archaeology cool. Like I said, it was manufactured to be the biggest movie of all time, and it was for about 5 years. In total, Jurassic Park made nearly $1 billion during its initial theatrical run, and its merchandise made over $1 billion. Movies just kept getting bigger. As we've seen, Batman was popular, and everything was shaken up for the next in the series, 1995's Batman Forever. New director, new star, new merch, these character mugs that were really big around this time, especially with Warner properties. This is probably best remembered for its soundtrack, at least by me. Movie soundtracks used to be a much bigger deal. Music used to be a lot more expensive, and soundtracks were a great way to get several songs by different artists. Obviously, these would be feature songs that were in the movie, but there was also music inspired by soundtracks, which I find fascinating. These were a way to sell music to a certain demographic, songs that might not appear in the movie, but if you're the kind of person who likes this movie, maybe you like these bands. Warner tried to replicate the Batmania formula with Batman Forever and its sequel, Batman and Robin, and while the hype was massive, both fell short. Everything we've seen so far was so hyped, and the overall consensus was they delivered. Very profitable, enjoyed by fans, still beloved to this day, but around this time, the mid-90s, while movies kept getting bigger and bigger, the hype kept growing, the movies themselves were not embraced by fans in the same way. No more is this apparent than the Star Wars prequels. I lined up opening day for nearly every one of these, missed the first, The Phantom Menace, but other than that, I was there, first screening in my town. The marketing blitz for these, especially episode 1, was wild. Recently on Patreon, not sure if it's up yet, but it will be soon, we talked about the 97 re-releases. These formally brought Star Wars back into the zeitgeist. It introduced an entire generation, including myself, to the franchise. People were excited, they were wanting more, and absolutely lost their minds when the prequels were announced. Star Wars was everywhere that summer, 1999. Pepsi, video games, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, better known as Pod Racer. Game was hugely popular. Toys, people went crazy for these. I've used a lot of these clips in our videos about collecting because it shows the weird obsessiveness we collectors have. This has been a thing for decades now. People were emotional over this. Those who were children seeing the first films in theaters can now take their own kids. The media was all over this, contextualizing the hype of 25 years earlier, showing Star Wars staying power by profiling collectors, celebrating the fandom. Just like Batmania, Star Wars was back, and it was everywhere. Crowds could not be more excited to see The Phantom Menace, but I'm sure most of you are familiar with how this movie was received. A lot of people hated it. It became a punchline for years. You'd see it referenced in sitcoms and movies, people getting overly emotional, irrationally mad about it. People were swearing off Star Wars forever. It soured people on the franchise. I was 10. I enjoyed it. Admittedly, not the biggest Star Wars fan now, but I was pretty into this. I was not the only one, despite a lot of people loudly saying they didn't like the movie. Its merchandise still made $1 billion. Star Wars had 2 other prequel movies come out, and the machine was there pushing it, but it didn't have the same aura or hype that Phantom Menace had, and they certainly did not capture the magic and excitement of the original trilogy. Again, people still showed up, extremely profitable movies, and since, movies have continued to get bigger, breaking records. Yes, movie tickets are more expensive now, everything is more expensive now, good movies are being made, all of these franchises are still alive, still thriving, bigger than ever, they are still being merchandised, but very few have hit the heights, the hype, like the movies we've covered here. Now, this was not meant to be exhaustive. I know there was a lot that I missed, so let me know in the comments. What are some of your favorite movie merchandise, summer or otherwise? For more videos like this, check out our fast food history of the summer blockbuster, or our recent video featuring movie theater memories. Like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share, please support us if you can. As always, thank you so much for your interest in this channel, and thanks for watching. See you in the future.